Yes, hello everyone. Fáilte Rash, Goody Chlorella, and Shut Aaron Clay, Lumsa, Seamus Abrodig, and Matthew Hurley. Welcome back to another weekend review show. Matthew, we had again action from all four codes. We had some big hurling headlines, big football headlines, big LGFA headlines, big Camogie headlines, and plenty of talk about the new rules as well. Big weekend. Looking forward to jumping into it. Thanks for jumping on again.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on again, James. Yeah, it was a busy day out yesterday. There was a triple header in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. We had the ladies football Cork team coming up against Roscommon. Probably a comfortable enough win, but some good signs from the Cork ladies footballers, and hopefully they can transform the league form into the championship. And it looks good signs under the new management under Joe Carroll so far under its tenure. The hurling was a poignant kind of occasion to be at, even the minute silence before Ray Ryan's respect. Obviously, I was shocked that Pat was on the line for the game. I couldn't imagine how he was getting over it all this week, but Cork won the game anyway, and it was just a poignant kind of a game. And then the football, Roscommon were excellent, but Cork football, I don't know, like that was John Cleary's heaviest defeat as Cork football manager. It was really, really tough defeat to take. Probably our worst performance of the season, let's be honest. But look, even today I was watching Donegal and Derry, and to be honest, like Derry impressed me. I know they're only on 1 point, but I thought they were very, very good in patches. They just couldn't finish off Donegal, which was the most frustrating thing. And Limerick and Clare, I watched that as well in TG Carr. Boy, we got the bite. Durbin Bird's red card. Tony Kelly probably should have got sent off in the first half. And we're only in March. We're only at March 2nd, and we got the bite off that game. Like it was just brilliant entertainment in all honesty. But yeah, a lot to get into, obviously. So brilliant action in all four codes, and looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, certainly. Me too. We've got a healthy number of people watching, guys. The ticker at the bottom there will tell you how this runs if you are here for the first time. Just throw your thoughts in. Let us know what your highlight of the weekend was. As we said, we had 4 divisions from all 4 codes. So basically, oh my God, I got hit with an absolute... I had, when you have a bag of popcorn and you get one bit that like hangs on for dear life in the back of your throat. That's what's hit me right now. So bear with me. I've recovered, I think, but I probably will get hit by it again throughout the episode. But if you're new here, what you do is you throw in your thoughts on the weekend. What was your personal highlight of the weekend? And we will answer all questions that you have in the comments below. We have a few here already from Jer Gregan, who is obviously a regular guest on the show. Jer says here, when I was on the show, you pointed out that I was wrong to say Kildare would lose away to Sligo. The second part was that they'd lose away to Clare. Yeah, Clare obviously picking up a massive win against Kildare there. We'll get into that on the football part of the show. He said, good weekend from Clare, really dug deep and showed resilience and steel in the football. Allowed Kildare to dominate the third quarter, but clearly they understood how important the game was for promotion. Complete change in attitude from our hurlers. Backs were ferocious in their defending, like night and day compared to last week. Younger players showed their willingness to fight for Shane O'Donnell's jersey. And then, yes, Tony Kelly should have seen red, but I don't know what it is with that. Clare have a bad form to play Limerick in the Gaelic grounds raises their intensity. Well, I think Limerick will always bring the intensity out of Clare, and Clare will always bring the intensity out of Limerick. It is that kind of rivalry. There's no better place to start than the Alliance Hurling Leagues. Division 1A, Limerick 21 points, Clare 121 at the Gaelic grounds. If you missed this game, guys, the highlights are already up from TG Carr on their YouTube channel page. I do recommend having a look at them because this was a really, really fiery contest. And I mean, it culminated with the handbags and Dermot Burns getting a red card and everything like that. It was a really, really enjoyable contest. No question about it.
Yeah, it was. Just for so many aspects in terms of the quality of hurling, the intensity, everything like that. And just to pick up on George's comment there, Tony Kelly's yellow card, I'd say, should have been probably a red. I'll give it that. But I will say it was unintentional. Tony didn't mean to do it. I mean, it was a mistime challenge. He mistimed it. He should have been off for that. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But you look at the second half, Dermot Burns probably should have got, that was the correct decision. That was a red card. And Shane O'Brien was very, very lucky as well. Not to see red as well. He swiped across the Clare guy's shin as well. and it got a bit tasty, I will say, in the second half in terms of intensity and all that. But David Reedy's goal in the second half was crucial for Clare, and in a week where Shane O'Donnell was ruled out for the rest of the season, and in a season so far where Clare failed to click into gear, this was a game where they really needed to turn up, and they did so. You have to give them credit for that. Tony Kelly, I know he probably should have got sent off. I'll reiterate that in terms of not getting hate for the Limerick fans, but he was really, really good today. Besides that incident, he was really good for Clare in terms of getting them over the line. I thought, in fairness, Ian McCarthy from free take was very good. Sean Rinn and Jack O'Neill, two young lads that really stepped up from a Clare point of view in this game as well. David Reedy obviously getting the goal, David Fitzgerald. A round of applause for the Clare team, the Clare PROs or whatever, for giving David Fitzgerald the number 10 jersey. Thank you, Clare GA, for that, because it's been a long time coming, I'll say it that way. But he had a good game today with 2 points as well. And Colin Malone on the score sheet, Mark Rogers did as well. And look, Clare were deserving victors on a day today where it was intensity. We're only in March. Get the popcorn out from May when these sides meet. We'll have an absolute cracker there. Probably a full house. Or you've seen, where is this? It's on the Gaelic grounds again. We're going to get a full house in the Gaelic grounds again. It is going to be absolutely brilliant, and yeah, I think what was impressive with Clare, I think their shooting was very, very good. I know it ended at 59% overall, but at some stages was 70%, 68%, and we have been probably challenging of Clare over the last few seasons for not taking their chances. They certainly took their chances today, and that's a much bigger improvement in terms of that for Brian Lohan's side. Limerick, it's not a worry, I would say, but for Clare, it's a crucial result in trying to avoid relegation.
It certainly is, and I think when you're looking at the rivalry, I think that there's a couple of things that can always be guaranteed with Clare and Limerick. High intensity, usually a very good crowd. Like, this was a league game, and it was very well attended, especially for this time of the year, and usually there's a talking point. So we'll go back to that Tony Kelly incident. So my simple question is this: do you think Limerick fans have a right to feel hard done by that Diarmaid Byrnes got a red card and Tony Kelly managed to get away without a red card for his incident with Adam English?
I think they have a right to complain, yes, Limerick, because if you're playing even Steven there, both of them should have gone. So, yeah, I would say Limerick have a right to complain, but at the same time, this is worth noting as well. Tony Kelly's wasn't malicious, I don't think. It was a mistimed tackle that went horribly wrong. I don't think it was malicious. I don't think Tony meant to hit the Limerick guy's head, honestly.
I agree. But I still think intent doesn't matter. If you catch him, you catch him. And like, we've seen it in Gaelic football, like with red cards where shoulders hit the head and stuff. Like, if you hit them there, you hit them there. And if you get into, where intent actually impacts whether or not the guy is sent off, like, players can be good actors when they want to be. Like, we've seen some horrific tackles going in football and hurling. And my favorite tackle of all time, I don't know if you saw Benjamin Massey in the 1990 World Cup. The Cameroonian lad where he sent the Argentinian fella doing 2 tumbles, and he got up to the ref and he was like, "Oh, my leg." And it was one of the worst tackles I've ever seen. So I think it's slippery ground if you go into where intent, comes into your decision making. I think it should be open and shut. Did he make contact with the head? Yes, he did. Then he has to go. I think it's simple as, like, because when you're looking at it, it's a similar incident with Aidan Forker and Michael Murphy in a weird way, because let's be honest, we all know Aidan Forker's headbutt on Michael Murphy didn't hurt Michael Murphy at all. Like, Michael Murphy looked at him and was like laughing at him, was like, "What are you doing?" But
the difference there, James, was it was intentful.
Yeah,
Aidan Forker meant to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it is interesting. It's interesting to get a comment in here from Ger Clareman saying that yes, Tony Kelly should have seen red. Like, my personal take on it is, I do feel for Limerick a little bit in that Diarmaid Byrnes got sent off. Yes, he did throw a swipe, but when I watched back, like, that incident, and there's 3 Clare lads running at him, like, grabbing him, I don't really know what he's supposed to do in that situation. I kind of understood why he fought back. It was kind of like, the situation Paul O'Connell where the lad was hitting him and eventually just hit him back. Like, I don't really know what Burns was supposed to do in that situation. Maybe he shouldn't have thrown a box, but like he was definitely going to defend himself, especially with the heat of the rivalry like that. I think yellow cards in that brawl, I wouldn't have been too much of an issue with it, especially given that Kelly had gotten away with it. And as Liam White points out here, says, just tuning in now, Tony Kelly was unbelievable today, but he's very lucky to stay on the pitch. He even admitted it himself on TG Carr afterwards. Sean O'Malley says here, Clare still have a habit of taking wild shots that aren't on. He means that at the goal, I'm guessing, not at not at Limerick players' heads. But yeah, so final thoughts on it. I think Tony probably should have been sent off. I think Burns, maybe if Kelly hadn't been sent off, you let yourself not send off Darren Burns, probably did deserve a red card as well. But I do feel like Limerick have a right to feel a little bit hard done by, given that Tony got away with it and Diarmid didn't. Would that be a fair take? Or?
Yeah, it would be. I would say so. But yeah, I think Tony did deserve a red card. There's no doubt about that. Again, it's not. He didn't mean to smack the guy's head simply, but if you make contact with the head, you kind of have to go, don't you? It's yeah, I think it is a red card, and especially with Derby Burns getting sent off in the second half, I think Limerick have a right to feel aggrieved over that. But it's worth noting, Tony Kelly, and I think a lot of commentary on Twitter would say that Tony Kelly's a dirty hurler and things like that.
No, he's not.
He's not. He's not a dirty hurler at all. No. It was just a horribly mistimed tackle that went wrong. He didn't get sent off over it. He probably should have tried to move on, you know. But yeah, I think it was a red card.
On top of that, one incident, in my opinion, doesn't make someone a dirty player. It's a dirty action. I think, like, as a player, you are what you continuously do. You know what I mean? So, like, if a player continuously gets sent off, then we can start labeling that player a dirty player. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Whereas, like, even like the Seamus Flanagan incident, like, I wouldn't call Seamus Flanagan a dirty player. He acted like a muppet in that incident with Niall O'Leary and was way out of line. But I still wouldn't say he is a dirty player, because I'm yet to see the next incident. And if there is another incident coming, well, then maybe we can start to label him as that. But the first incident, I'm like, okay, maybe it was a bit out of character. But if somebody consistently does it, I'm like, okay. Like, you can look at, like, Roy Keane, for example, in the Premier League, or you can look at, do you know what I mean, players in the Premier League that consistently got sent off, and you'd be like, okay, I think we get the picture here. I think this player is fairly common in doing that. Someone like El Hadji Diouf or someone like that. Joey Barton, that's another good example. Like that, you're like, first time, 17th time. Okay, I think we understand what's going on here. We have a couple of comments in here, guys. Love to see it. Keep it coming. Modern Tornado here says, agree with Seamus. Thank you very much. And Sean says, Tony doesn't make the call, the ref does. One of those incidents that supports claims for VAR/TMO. I can see your points for VAR, Sean. Personally, I think VAR would be the worst thing that could possibly happen to GA, because I've played, I still play, and anybody who plays knows that whether it's football or hurling, when you have the ball, you take more than 4 steps. And any crucial score in Gaelic football or hurling, immediately, whichever team conceded it would be going to the referee at VAR. And if one player in that move took 5 steps, they can rule the goal out. And genuinely go back to most goals that have consistently changed Gaelic games. There's usually somebody who's taken too many steps in the build-up. Now, we will move on from this game. Actually, I won't. I'll say one more thing. So, with all that being said, because I think we focus a little bit too much on the Tony Kelly incident, but given the players that were involved, obviously, you know, we do need to focus on that. And that definitely was one thing that people wanted to discuss. But the game itself, what were the main things that Clare did well in order to beat Limerick in this one?
I think, honestly, their intensity went up over the last few games. I think it was mentioned by Tony Kelly and other people in the post-match interviews afterwards as well, that the intensity wasn't up, especially in the game last week against Wexford, and they got it up in this game. And another thing that I mentioned at the start of the show, the shooting from Clare, I thought was brilliant. maybe up until the very end when players got tired and things like that. I thought they were absolutely brilliant in their shooting, and some of the individual players as well. Like Sean, for instance, Tony himself, 5 shots taken, three converted. That's 60%, which is very, very good. Aidan McCarthy was superb, I thought, at this today. 9 shots, 7 converted as well. That's nearly about 70%. Like, that's really, really good from a player that has to really show his colours for Clare this year if they want to defend this All-Ireland title. And he did so last year in terms of frees. They found a free taker, and he is definitely one, in fairness to him. David Fitzgerald as well at stages did very well at the shooting stakes. David Reedy took his goal really, really well as well. I think like there was the balls around the full forward line as well, and the half forward line. I thought it was superb for Clare as well. And new lads that really stepped up, because like Shane O'Donnell being missing, you need lads like Sean Rinn to step up. He's done well for UL in college level and Fitzgibbon Cup level, but he stepped up massively with 3 points. Jack O'Neill, didn't hear much about him before today, stepped up and scored 3 points, 3 wonderful points as well. So there were a lot of positives for Clare, but I think the main thing was taking their opportunities, which they haven't done over the last few years.
Yeah, no, definitely. They came with business on their mind. And I mean, I seen the Brian Loughlin interview from before the game, and he was like, look, we put ourselves in a hole. Now it's time to get out of it type attitude. And look, they were definitely really, really solid. Jay says here, Seamus, Darby's goal would have been cancelled by VAR. And Sean O'Malley says here, he says, I know you've made the points on steps before, but maybe it can only be used for instance of reckless fouls / dirty play. And I think that could be something, a compromise to look at, maybe goal line technology, that type of thing.
Or something like what they did in the hockey, something like they did in the hockey in the Olympics, where you get 2 chances, 2 wild cards to view video clips or something like that.
I think every team would just keep one for the end just in case.
Yes.
Especially
that's it. You have to play your cards right. That's the thing. But I really like that in hockey in the Olympics and watching other sports in the Olympics. I know I usually watch the likes of soccer, rugby, Gaelic games, obviously. But when you look at the Olympic sports, like basketball as well with shot clock, you see these sorts of rules and you think, hey, these sorts of rules do work. They do work. Yeah. So, yeah, it might be worth trying.
No, I think it would be worth a go. The main thing I'd have is just, again, going back to what Jer said about Derby's goal, how many goals that have changed the landscape of Gaelic games would be ruled out if, the VAR was there. Kevin McMenamin's goal against Kerry in 2011 wouldn't stand. Because he took too many steps going around Declan O'Sullivan. And no Kerry player was calling for steps. But they would turn and be like, VAR out of just pure hope that maybe something was up with the goal. So I think we do need to be careful how we monitor that one. Sean says they need to defo ref mics. Yeah, I think ref mics were just the best things, honestly, in the FRC games, that we just got to hear, why that decision was made, etc., etc. Because I think when decisions like that happen, if people don't know why a decision was given, people tend to come to their own conclusions, and sometimes not the right ones, and it can lead to a lot of confusion. So I think that's definitely a very simple improvement that can be made. Now, switching to the Rebels, Cork 122, Kilkenny 216 at Páirc Uí Chaoimh. You were at this one. What did you make of Cork? Obviously bouncing back from the defeat against Tipperary last week. This is a big win for Cork to get back in the win column, and obviously given everything around the team, the tragic circumstances with Ray Ryan, God rest his soul, and Pat Ryan being on the line, it's a big win for Cork.
It's a massive win, yeah. And obviously, again, condolences to the Ryan family. And Pat, I was shocked, to be honest, that he was on the line for this game. But it shows more so the bravery of the man to go on the line for this sort of occasion, as well as the minutes silence initially, and then the minutes applause for Ray, his brother, was just a poignant moment, really. And Ray will obviously be remembered in the Glanmire community and Cork GA circles as well, and may Ray rest in peace. But in terms of the game itself, maybe at some stages it lacked intensity, but Cork got the job done, and it looked very, very unlikely that they would do at half time. There was some instances where Kilkenny, especially with John Donnelly getting Billy Ryan getting goals in the first half, it looked like Cork were going to let the lead kind of slip and let the 2 points slip or whatever, but they rallied round the second half and they got over the line. In fairness, like Tim O'Mahony was good field. Patrick Horgan, in fairness to him, scored 3 points for play and was very, very good throughout. Darragh Fitzgibbon was good at patches, maybe not as good as in the championship last season, but was good. In fairness, Tommy O'Connell came on and got a point. I think we found a new star though, Seamus, from Lisgood, Dermot Healy, 1-5 from play. This guy, he played the Ebo Kelly team that won the Cork Premier Senior Hurling Championship, as Liam White just said there. He's a really, really good player. He was one of Ebo Kelly's best players in that Cork Premier Senior Hurling Championship campaign. He played with UCC in the Fitzgibbon as well, and he was given a chance by Pat Ryan, and he took it with both hands. Like, there's been a lot of these Cork players that have had potential in terms of underage and college level and club level and things like that. But in fairness to Healy, he stepped up in a massive way. And it was a really, really good performance by him. The goal he took in the first half was absolutely clinical, and it's what we need going forward, especially with the loss of Patrick Power to injury. Conor Lehan's injured at the moment. Seamus Hardy's injured. We need newer lads to not just show potential, but to step up. And Dermot Healy definitely did that. So fair play to him for that. And it was a good win for Cork. It was a well-needed victory, and it showed that the players, like, even after kind of a tough enough spell after losing to Tipperary as well, it showed the players are really going to fight for Pat in all facets of play. And it was really, really positive from a Cork point of view that they got the win in the end. As for Kilkenny, TJ coming back is a positive, coming back off the bench. I think that was good to see him. Obviously, like, we didn't think TJ would go for another season. He is now, but like, Owen Cody was quite interesting. Even with TJ on the pitch, Owen Cody was still taking the free. So maybe that will change with Derek Ling's team over the next few months. We'll have to see. But Keane Kenny, Jordan Malloy, I thought were all the middle of the park. They were good from a Kilkenny point of view. But from Cork's point of view, it was a very good display, well needed. And yeah, we have a new star in Dermot Healy.
Oh, we certainly do. And like, the way he took that goal was just pure confidence. Like, just to capitalize in the right moment, the breaking ball, scoop it up, bang it into the bottom corner. Like, that's a player brimming with confidence. Just jumping. So I think Cork are in a good position. I think that they've serious strength and depth, and definitely serious contenders for the All-Ireland. Going on to Kilkenny now. Kilkenny have very quietly, under the radar, now gone a decade without winning an All-Ireland. Like, I think in 2015, I know that we were coming towards the end of that golden crop, and players like Henry Shefflin had gone, and players like JJ Delaney had gone, and players like Michael Fennelly weren't far off leaving. But I don't think I would have expected 10 years at least before another Kilkenny All-Ireland title. And just out of nowhere to ask you this, like, are they further away from an All-Ireland than they were maybe in 2021, 2022?
I think so. I think
they are as well. I genuinely like that final that they lost to Limerick in 2022, where they scored 226. They were like, they would have been worthy All-Ireland champions that year. They were just up against an amazing Limerick team.
No, but even the All-Ireland semi-final against Clare last year, you were at that game, Seamus. I was just watching on RTE from home, and like, from that game, it just looked like, I know Owen Cody scored that spectacular goal in the semi-final, but they just looked flat that day. They look like Clare didn't perform. I think the biggest Clare supporter would admit this as well. Clare didn't perform to their best in that All-Ireland semi-final and still got the win. So that's a worrying sign for Kilkenny, and a worrying sign for their fans as well. And what they pride themselves on was shooting as well. And they had, like, what was it, a 60 or 76% shot accuracy or something like that in the All-Ireland final, which you referenced, which they scored 226 in against Limerick. Last year against Clare, I think it was 50-60%. Yesterday against Cork was 50% compared to Cork's 65%. They need to get up to the 60s again. And I don't think they're anywhere near that at this present moment in time as well. Even when they challenged Limerick in that All-Ireland final in 23, when Paddy Deegan's goal went through the net, literally. It was such a thunderous shot. It looked like Kilkenny were on the verge of winning there. And to be honest, I think Kilkenny would have been worthy All-Ireland champions that year too. But obviously Limerick came back, being the great team they are, and got the win in the end. And then the next year, 2024, and so far in 2025, they've just looked a small bit flat so far. I know TJ came on yesterday, but if you're relying, yes, TJ is a legend of the game, but what age is he now, Seamus? 35, 36? Like,
and is it a bit nerve-wracking that they're still turning to him?
It is. And it is worrying, to be honest with you. It's kind of like a situation where Kerry in another universe, would keep relying on Gooch Cooper to produce brilliance. It's just like, it's TJ's a great player and all that, but they need players the likes of Owen Cody, Billy Ryan, Billy Drennan, who was on the bench yesterday as well. They need these guys to step up. And they are to an extent, but they aren't being the main kind of player that we've all expected them to be.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, Owen Cody's a brilliant player and all that, and he scored a spectacular goal against Clare last year. But other than that spectacular goal against Clare, he was largely anonymous in that All-Ireland semi-final.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a worrying thing from a Kilkenny point of view. That was their best kind of player out of the young crop. And you'd expect him to really step up. But I think I'd agree with you. I think Kilkenny are very, very far off. And it is going on under the radar, because you look at other sports. You look at Manchester United, for example, in soccer. Look, they haven't won a Premier League in more than 10 years. And you'd say this is a crisis in Old Trafford. We're not saying it's a crisis in Nolan Park, but they're going 10 years without an All-Ireland. So should we be saying it's a crisis right now? I don't know what Kilkenny fans would think about
that. I wouldn't say crisis, but I'd say I don't know if they'll win one in the next 3 years. Now, I know that's like 3 years at least, and then you're over a decade at that point, because I'm looking at it. I'm like, Cork, in my opinion, to me anyway, they're given the vibe of like, and look, we've seen it time and time again with teams that like seem like they'll never stop until they win one, and then somehow they just don't. Like, we've seen examples of that. But Cork, to me, give the vibe of a team that won't stop until they get one. Like, they're kind of reminding me a lot now of like kind of what Galway were like, 2015, 2016. That like they're getting close, and then eventually just 1 year the door will open for them, because they've been hammering at it for years. And like, yeah, they were quiet enough in 2022, but like 2021 they got to the final. 2023 they were right in there, and obviously last year they were a whisker away. Like, they were good enough to be All-Ireland champions last year. So yeah, I think that Cork and Limerick are the two that I expect the All-Ireland to come from this year. Genuinely, I don't see it coming. And then you look at the strides the Tipperary are making, like, it will be difficult for Kilkenny to see off them three, I think, over the next few years.
And Clare, to be honest.
Clare, yeah, I think Clare this season, I think Clare might go into the same thing that I've predicted that Armagh will go into, in terms of like, when you break a duck, I think it's very hard then to go back to back. If you look back through the Roll of Honour in whatever code, teams that break ducks very rarely come back the next year and win it again. Like, there's exceptions, of course there's exceptions, but like, more often than not, if you break the duck, it's hard to have that same hunger when you've kind of done what you wanted to do. It's like, you can take UFC champions, for example, who like their only goal is to win the belt. But you look at champions like Kamaru Usman, for example, who like when he won the belt, he looked like he was pissed off still. And he was like, nah, I want to be the best welterweight of all time. Like, do you know what I mean? That like when Limerick then regained the title in 2020, you could tell that like they weren't happy with just this one. They wanted dominance. They wanted 2, 3, 4 in a row. And I think that maybe there'll be a little bit of a lull here for Armagh and Clare, even though Armagh beat Dublin, which obviously we'll come to later on in the show. Marlon Tornado here says, so many teams ahead of Kilkenny, I don't think a Leinster team will win the Liam McCarthy. And then Sean O'Malley has 2 comments in here saying Kilkenny still embody what made them a dominant force in the noughties, but they just don't have the same quality they did before. They were always a hard act to follow. Same with the Dubs now. And then Kerry are also having long spells without Sam. Who would have thought that? I genuinely thought Kerry were locked in for 2-3 years. Even Kerry like failed to win back-to-back after, it seemed like it had opened up for them a bit. But anyway, Cork in good health. Kilkenny, I still think Kilkenny are contenders, and you can never write them off. But I'm just saying they're slowly going a while without winning it. And the point is that it can very quickly become 15 years. And then all of a sudden a massive gap. Like Dublin, when Dublin won it in 1995, nobody thought it would be 16 years until they won the next one. When Cork won the Hurling in 2005, no one thought it would be 20 years at least before they get their hands on the next one. Just, it can very quickly drop. And you never, ever, ever know what way the tide is going to go. And RLB says, look at Tyrone in 2022, lost to Derry in the 2022 first round. Maybe if Antrim beat Armagh, they will do a Derry. Who knows? Only time will tell. We'll move to the final game then in Division 1A, which of course is Wexford 120, Galway 219 in Wexford Park. We predicted this one to be a close one, but we did both predict Galway to come out on top. It was close. Wexford definitely have shown improvements on the team that were humiliated in the game against, I believe it was Kilkenny. They were humiliated in that one. They've gotten a lot better, obviously, with the return of key players like Cluiche, obviously the main one. But Galway coming together nicely under Donoghue. I think they're in a decent spot, especially for his first few months after returning to the team. I don't expect them to be All-Ireland contenders this season, but I think there's a good project there in Galway.
There is, to be honest, and the goals from Conor Cooney and Anthony Burns really sent Galway close to the top, really, and it was a good display from them. In fairness, after losing to Tipperary, we thought Galway were in a bit of crisis, and we thought that being O'Donoghue would have a tough job in his hands. But in fairness to them, they've really, really stepped up to the challenge, and they've won 3 games on the bounce now, so that is really, really good shooting from a Galway point of view. I thought David Burke, Kevin Cooney and Michael Garvey, 2 points for play each for them. I thought, like, by the looks of things, obviously the game wasn't shown or anything, so you only had to go through match reports. But according to them, they seem to be very, very good, and it was a good display for Galway in getting over the line. As for Wexford, closer to the drop zone now. I think there was a situation if Limerick won today, they would have been all but down, but they're still staying up. They still are having tough, tight games against teams. They beat Clare last week. They only lost this game to an improving Galway side by 2 points. There's still some hope yet for them. And now Leach and Rory O'Connor are back, so maybe they can make a leg surge here or there. But it's a good win for Galway, and they're serious league final contenders now.
Yeah, they certainly are. I'll throw this one to you. This is a question from Sean O'Malley. He says, I know it's only the league, but do you see Galway being a dark horse this year? I think they'll definitely be flying the flag for Leinster. What do you think, Matthew?
It's a tough one to predict, really, because like we were saying that Galway were building something under Henry Shefflin, and look what happened then. Like
I don't know if I ever like Galway Henry Shefflin. You've that clip of me from what, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, where I'm saying this is basically Galway just handing over all the information to Kilkenny in 2 years' time when Henry inevitably hooks up with someone in the backroom team.
Oh yeah, those were good days. Yeah, but yeah, it was that was a weird time from Galway fans' point of view. But they've reached 2 All-Ireland semi-finals in a row, and we were thinking, like Galway are starting to improve a bit. And Dane last year was an absolute capitulation from them. They lost to Wexford, they lost to Dublin. They should have got beat by Antrim as well in Cork and Park. Carlow gave them a good game in Pearse Stadium as well, and they failed to beat Kilkenny's, let's be honest, second or third team. Like it was really, really poor from Galway last year. So league form right now, I wouldn't be sold on Galway yet. And the same can be said about Tipperary. I'm not sold on those sorts of teams yet until the battle-hardened nature of the championship begins.
Yeah, no, I would agree. We are going to throw on Division 1B, and I'm going to put these together because goddamn, we have a lot of games to get through, and I'm trying to wrap this up by 9:15 to catch the Ireland hockey team, which are playing against New Zealand, of course, in the FIH Nations Cup final, which you should tune in us live on TDCAR if you haven't heard of it yet. Waterford 123, Dublin 218. This is in Walsh Park. Dublin now losing back-to-back games. This could seriously hinder our hopes of getting promoted out of Division 1B. I think it more or less is finished now. I think it's beyond us. Offaly 122, Westmeath 19 points in O'Connor Park, and Carlow and Antrim split the spoils in Netwatch Cullen Park. 121 for Carlow, 218 for Antrim. Your take on these three?
Yeah, Waterford Dublin was the massive game of the day, and apparently there was a few referee decisions that I didn't watch the game now, but apparently there were a few decisions that irked a few Dublin fans in this game. But Waterford is a crucial win for them in Dungarvan. It's a massive win for them. In fairness, Patrick Kerr got 1-2, Stephen Bennett got 11 points, Desi Hutchinson 3 points. So really good displays for them, and it looks like them and Offaly will be promoted. Speaking of Offaly, a win in the end, but Liam, if you're still here, you said this to us during the week that Westmeath would really put it up to them, and they did. Fair play to Westmeath for that. They're still on 0 points. But I suppose when teams aren't playing well and they get the win over the line, that shows a battle-hardened side. And you have to give Offaly all the credit there. 5 games, 4 wins, 9 points. You have to give Johnny Kelly a lot of credit for getting Offaly to this stage so far. And as for Carlo and Antrim, look, quietly, I think it's a good result for Davy. Going away to Carlo, who are decent enough form, getting a draw, considering Antrim's form, dreadful form over the last few weeks. That's a good point for them. And sure, well, you'll be hopeful from Davy's point of view that will settle the team down a bit, but we'll see in the next few weeks.
Yeah, we certainly will. I think it's a better result than obviously the beating that they took at the hands of Waterford and Dublin and Croke Park and everything like that. Lane White says here, couldn't make the game, but I did say Westmeath would put it up to us because they're tough as nails. But Killian Doyle did make Westmeath competitive. Without him, it would have been much more difficult for them. And then Gavin O'Reilly here says as well, I hope this new GA Plus thing shows more games. So many hurling and football games not shown on TV or anywhere. And some big ones not shown, like Mayo, Kerry not being shown was definitely a surprise, because you'd think surely somebody would be chomping at the bit to get that one with the rivalry and, you know, with the stories and the classic games between both of those counties. Look, we won't open Pandora's box on that, or else we will literally never, ever, ever end this podcast episode. We've talked about it many, many times. Matthew, my kind of take on it is, very, very briefly, I think we should have a situation where you have your GA Plus, your RT, your TG Car showing like the inter-county, the cream of the crop. And then for games that aren't going to be shown, more or less every county has a YouTube set up at the ground, can live stream YouTube club matches. And I don't understand why we're so against letting, you know, let's say there's a game in Division 4 of the Alliance Football League between Tipperary and Waterford, and it's not going to be shown anywhere. Why can't Tipperary just broadcast that on the YouTube channel? I understand it's contracts and, you know, you have to have the rights to show the games, but just as the consumers, as the fans, we're missing out on watching those. And if there's an amazing goal, if somebody didn't have their phone out at that match, that's gone. That goal is gone and it will never be seen again. And I just think for the game as well, for the game's growth, like that 2020 campaign for women in sports just said it perfectly. Like, if you can't see it, you can't be it. Like, if we can't see the games, it's bad for the promotion. The League of Ireland had it perfect that every game had to be broadcast. And I would say that, you know, as Jim Gavin said, Jim Gavin put like a serious North Star to make Gaelic football the most entertaining and enjoyable like amateur sport in the world to play and watch. I'd love if we had that same ambition about the coverage side, that any inter-county game, regardless of the level, will be available to watch somewhere. I think we have the ability to do it. A quick take on that, because obviously we're under some time pressure.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like the League of Ireland's the bar, and the GA need to go up to that, because you look at the League of Ireland over COVID, they had this LOI TV platform and they kept it going and going and going. The GA had it. Would GA go in 2020 and 2021 when people could make it to the game, and they can't keep continuing it? You're asking the question, why? You know, like, I watched some games in Division 4 between Waterford and Wexford and Carlo in the Division 4 that season, did some stats on those games. And I was thinking, I love these because you get to know the players, you get to know them, the team star players, and you won't be going into podcasts cold and talking rubbish, basically. So, you know, it works on so many levels, for the normal fan, for podcasters, for pundits, for everyone. And I feel like there should be streaming platforms, whether you let Clubber take the mantle on, or YouTube, or whatever. There's something needs to be done about showing these games at lower levels in particular.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think trying to make sure that we have a system where if you play county, you get the recognition that you deserve, I think would be the way to do it. But again, look, we're not in the position where we know exactly what's going on and, like, you know, who has the rights and everything like that. And obviously the systems are in play for a reason, but it just, when you know that a game, it leads to games like Mayo and Kerry not being seen, just sometimes for GA fans, it can be frustrating Modern Tornado here says change of time maybe from Mayo and Kerry. And then Sean O'Malley says Offaly wants to watch this year. They have a good squad depth with a lot of players injured. I see them going on a run in the championship. I definitely think, looking at how Offaly fought to the death against Dublin and grinded out that win, I think it's a statement of what's to come in the future. And I think they'll be an interesting one to watch in the Leinster Championship because, look, it's going to be hard, but if Offaly can stay up, I think that they can really build and they can be a real force in the future. Reading out, of course, the rest of the results. Obviously, we had other matches in the Allianz Hurling Leagues and other matches, from other codes. Apologies. Of course, we had other matches in the Allianz Hurling League, but given we're under time pressure, I'm going to move on and go more in depth on the Allianz Football League. Division 1, Round 5. And Armagh get back to winning ways, beating Dublin by a goal and 20 to a goal and 12 at the Athletic Grounds. Obviously, Armagh, the All-Ireland champions. Dublin were, this was obviously always going to sell itself. Dublin going away to Armagh, the last two All-Ireland champions locking horns in the Athletic Grounds. And it was a great atmosphere, great crowd there. Armagh putting in a good performance, getting a good win, back to winning ways. What did you make of the Orchard, man?
Very inconsistent so far, Armagh, aren't they? And a lot of Tyrone fans have been going after me and saying stop using the word inconsistent and things like that, and it's so frustrating, and please stop using it or else I'm not going to watch or whatever. I think the inconsistent word has been switched from one Ulster county to the next. I think Armagh are taking up that mantle now, because one week they look in terrible form and they look like they can't get a win to save themselves. Another week they look unstoppable. Which is it, lads? They performed well in the first half. It outscoring Dublin 112 to 3 points. It was poor performance by Dublin in the first half, but Cambridge's goal really set them on their way. Reno O'Neill back at the panel was a good sign from an Armagh point of view as well. And Conor Turbot had a good performance with 6 points as well. I think from a Dublin point of view, I think they made the right decision ultimately about Sean Bugler, in brilliant form, obviously. But if he has a slight niggle, don't risk it. And I think Desi Farrell definitely did that. In fairness, they didn't risk him and they got the win. And they lost in the end, but I think it'll be better for Dublin in the long run that Bugler missed this game. So, look, I think Dublin will be still satisfied with the first few games. Maybe a bit of a bump in the road, this performance. But for Armagh, serious win in terms of avoiding relegation. They badly needed it. And up the table they go.
Certainly, and then obviously there were some gorgeous 2-pointers that they hit from the likes of Oisin O'Neill, especially. His one was my pick of the bunch. When you're mentioning there about inconsistency, this kind of brings me on to a more generic question. Does consistency in the league matter? Does it actually matter? Because we've seen now the teams that tend to absolutely go on a blitz in the league and, conquer all before them, have all the pressure on them going into the championship. And while I would look at situations like Clare winning the league last season, and obviously then they did go on to win the All-Ireland, I don't think it was necessarily because they won the league. I think it was just the championship was its own beast. But what would you think? Does consistency matter? Because I would look at it more as the league is a showcasing of what you're capable of, the levels that you're capable of hitting. And when Armagh beat Dublin 3 years ago, I think it was now, in Croke Park, they showcased the level of performance that they were capable of reaching. And bear in mind that at that time, it was a Division 2 team coming up to Division 1. It was definitely a team on the rise. And it was these guys are capable of coming up to Dublin and beating them. What do you think? Do you think consistency matters, or is it just... What do you think?
I think it does in terms of building something towards the championship. Really. You look at Clare and Hurling last year, you look at Donegal and Armagh, you look at the 4 All-Ireland semi-finalists, actually. Kerry, you would expect to be there. Galway were the exception. Donegal and Armagh won nearly every game of the league, and they progressed to the All-Ireland semi-finals, and Armagh eventually won the thing as well. You look at the year before. Derry, consistent enough in Division 2 in 2023. Kerry, always there, obviously. Dublin, consistently winning without the likes of Cluiche in Division 2 that season. And the other semi-finalists were Monaghan, and they still consistently produced some good performances, maybe not results, but good performances. My issue with Armagh is the performance in the second half against Mayo was poor. Their performance against Galway the first day was flat. The performance against Donegal, they never looked like winning that game. So like I think it does. It helps you towards championship in building something in terms of winning things, because you look at over the last few seasons, if you do relatively well in the league, you then go and have a good championship after that. Like you look at the last 3 All-Ireland champions. Armagh got promoted from Division 2, Dublin got promoted from Division 2, Kerry won the Division 2 title. Tyrone were decent enough in the league as well in 2021. Dublin obviously were the 6th in a row team in 2020. So the proof is in the pudding there. You need a bit of consistency. You might not get always the results, but you need consistency and performance level. And I don't think Armagh just showed enough this campaign in terms of consistency.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think when you like look at consistency, I think it's like more important, in my opinion, that you know internally that your squad is in a good place, because we've seen like Limerick, for example, in the hurling side, more or less taking the league off and then exploding into life when the championship comes around. We've a couple of comments in here. Sean O'Malley says a great point. He says, after Derry's capitulation last year, I stopped taking the league seriously. Liam White here also asked, he said, Dublin are trying new things, but I have to admit I was shell-shocked by Dublin last night. Armagh were able to pick out passes without much pressure sustained from Dublin. Small bit of concern. Look, I would definitely acknowledge it. I would definitely, while also you have, your example of, that the league can showcase what you're capable of. That also, in my opinion, applies the wrong way. It showcases that you're capable of absolutely dropping the ball and dropping your levels. You should still have the standards that are set amongst your camp. And I do think, as Nerb says here, that we started very slow, like taking 20 minutes to start. As he said, actually near missed the game. His car broke down 2 miles outside Newry and had to flag down another Dubs car so could get to the match. God damn, that is one hell of a commitment to making it to that game. You have one hell of a story as well. Beast475 gives his moment of the week. He says, Clare beating Kildare. I think that will put you one giant step closer to promotion. Just looking at Armagh and Dublin here, obviously, I think personally this year is one of the most open championships I've ever seen. Armagh obviously are the defending champions. Dublin won the All-Ireland the year before that. Who do you think is in a better position out of the two of them?
Performances so far, I think Dublin are in a better position, and I think they have more to prove as well, which is another onus, and why they're better in a better position than Armagh. Let's not forget with Dublin, they looked flat last night, but Buckler wasn't there. Con O'Callaghan, I don't know, they can't actually play in this game either. Like Dublin, I think are in still a decent enough position to be fair to them, and yeah, I think they're in a better position than Armagh this year. And it's maybe a bit of burnout from Armagh. They were All-Ireland champions last season. It happens, and I think Dublin are in a better position because of that. And yeah, I think that's why I probably say Dublin are probably in a better position than Armagh.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting one. B says here, lads, I'd say the Rossies will take it this year. Surprise package out of Division 2. I mean, we'll get into them. Obviously, they had a very, very impressive win over Cork as well. Galway, Tyrone, 118 apiece at Pearse Stadium. Tyrone probably needed to win this game, but definitely getting a draw there's no result to be sniffed at. Like, Tyrone definitely have showcased the levels that they can get to in this game. What did you make of this one?
Just on a point on the Armagh Dublin game, I just recognised that Con did actually play. He scored 6 points, not just played. He got 6 points. So shows I didn't watch the game last night. I was at the Roscommon and Cork game, but we move on. Galway Tyrone, yeah, look, it was about 2 players in this one. Look at the reports. Obviously, again, another game not shown. Why, I don't know. Shane Walsh got 1-7. Another 3 2-pointers. That's 15 2-pointers now in 5 games. 3 2-pointers per game. That's ridiculous. He's a weapon. Like, if Galway use him right in the summer now, he's going to be a serious player. But Tyrone, they needed a point today, or 2 would have been ideal to try and get themselves out of this relegation mess that they're in at the moment. And they could have won this game easily. But Galway, obviously, Walsh got a late goal to get them right back in contention in this one. But Derek Hanneman, you could just see Tyrone are a more confident team when he's on the pitch now. He got 1-5, 1-3 from play. He's a really talented player. And he's back. I don't know, is Rory going to make a comeback as well? And Peter Hart and Goose and all these Eric Kieran players. But once they start to come back and in full flight, I think Tyrone will be just fine. I know they're in relegation trouble at the moment, but I think they'll be fine in terms of that as well. So yeah, Tyrone look a decent decent position in terms of doing well in the championship. I'm not sure about survival of the league. That has to remain to be seen in the next 2 weeks. As for Galway, look, a draw. They're still unbeaten in the league. I don't think they'll be complaining about the draw too much. They grinded out a result without playing well, and they did so well done to Galway for that. But yeah, a good game this one.
Yeah, no, it certainly was. Gavin O'Reilly here says, fair play to Galway, undefeated so far. Sean O'Malley says, Mayo have shut a lot of people up. Only 2 weeks ago, they were dead on relegation. Don't think they are championship contenders, though, sadly. And then Nerb says, Con did play. I think he scored 1-2 within 5 minutes. So he was on his way to correct you. Anyway, we'll move on then to the next game, which, of course, was Mayo's big win. 21 points to Kerry's 116 in McHale Park. It's a big, big win for Mayo. Like, there's no question about this. Having seen the form that Kerry were in, I was saying I was really, really impressed by Kerry in terms of, you know, that win against Tyrone, because that win wasn't really based off skill. It was based off pure grit, determination, never say die attitude. And they dug it out in really difficult conditions in Tyrone. Whereas I thought maybe they'd be able to translate this form into, again, a bit of a carnage system with Mayo. But Mayo get the win. And as that comment says, Mayo have shut a lot of people up. And a lot of people tipped them to go down, myself included. I thought they'd slip into 7th. I thought Derry would finish 8th and Mayo would just slip under. They're looking like they might save themselves.
Yeah, I think Mayo will probably survive now. It's a brilliant win for them against a Kerry team that seemed to be good on the road away from home. But then again, like David Clifford again with 6 points, way too reliant on from a Kerry point of view. When they're now on 4 points, Tyrone are on 3. Imagine if Derry held on against Donegal, which we'll talk about in a sec. I think Kerry would have been in major, major trouble if that happened. And when you look at their 2 wins as well, Tyrone, smash and grab. Obviously, David scoring a total of 3-1, which saved them on that day. Against Derry, they scored 3 goals inside the last few minutes and saved themselves in Celtic Park. Like, those are smash and grab wins. And Kerry can't keep getting away with it each and every week. So, and they were caught out in this game. Like, they performed poorly in this Mayo game, especially in the first half. They were way down. Mayo held on. Very good display from them, especially for the likes of Ryan O'Donoghue, who scored well in this one. Darren McHale as well. Frank Irwin and Matty Moran really showed up for this Mayo team as well. Jordan Flynn, like, as soon as Jordan Flynn has come back into the Mayo team, I know it's not everything's not a coincidence, but since he's come back from his cross-Malloyne exploits, Mayo have just somehow become a more competent or better team. I don't know, is that a coincidence? Like, Jordan is on the pitch now. He's more of a commanding presence on there from a Mayo point of view. And I think him coming back is a major, major reason why Mayo have improved over the last few weeks. So yeah, it's a good result for Mayo. It steers them ever closer to survival in the Division 1. And they're ahead of Kerry now, which we wouldn't have said in the last few weeks. But you look at Kerry now, Kerry on 4 points, Tyrone on 3. I know we said it in the last few weeks that Kerry got the win against Tyrone and we all said, okay, they'll be fine. But the next 2 games now for Kerry are crucial if they want to survive in Division 1 and keep up that good record and staying in the top tier.
Yeah, it's kind of unthinkable to think that Kerry could get relegated, isn't it? Like, that they're hovering quite close. If they didn't pick up that win against Tyrone, they would be in huge trouble, because especially then you take that 2 points and give it to Tyrone instead. It would be absolutely crazy if Kerry... Obviously, Gavin says here, Kildare relegated in 2022 on 5 points and Armagh in 2023. Mayo are not safe yet. Mono Tenero says, I said we would get a point every game after the Armagh game. And then also says, Clifford was very quiet, well marshalled, was at it, as in at the game. And then Beast475 here says, I'd say Donegal Galway league final, which is in complete agreement with me. I said that would be the league final too a few weeks ago. Now, we'll move on to the final game of the bunch. This one was on today. Donegal 122, Derry 119 at McCool Park. Look, this game was a really thoroughly enjoyable game of Gaelic football. Derry really did themselves, proud, I'd say, in this game. Like, not that they'll take any moral victory from it, but through the league, they have reminded people just how good they are. And even though Donegal came back and got the win, Derry definitely aren't a team to be underestimated. They've showcased that. But for Donegal, again, test their steel, test their resilience. They find a way and they come up with the win. And it's a very, very important response that they get a win, especially off the back of the Galway defeat last week.
Yeah, exactly. It was a crucial win for Donegal, in fairness to keeping up their league final aspirations, even if Jim McGuinness doesn't want to reach the league final. But look, it's a very, very good display from well, not a good display from Donegal, because Derry, I thought, and I know they're bottom and they're on 1 point, and we thought they were a capitulation last year and things were going wrong for them, and Paddy Tally appointment and all that malarkey. But Derry proved a lot of people wrong, I think, in their performances. I watched them in full now today because obviously it was a free day without Cork football and things like that. And I watched Derry and I thought they look good. I know they're in a relegation dogfight, but there is positives there. Shane McGuigan performed well. I thought Lachlan Murray was very, very sharp up front. I thought Owen McAvoy was moving up the field well. I thought Brendan Rodgers took the game to them. Conor Glass took his goal very, very well. And up until the Shane O'Donnell goal, Donegal were in massive trouble in this one. And they squeaked out the result, in fairness to them. But Derry, that's twice. That's the only worrying thing about Derry now. They were in control of the Kerry game, failed to win. They were in control of this game, lost again. Like that's a bad kind of omen to have going into the rest of the season. There are positive shoots like the likes of Paul Cassidy getting 2 points, Lachlan Murray getting 6 points for playing, including a 2-pointer. But I think for Derry to improve, they need to manage games better, if that makes sense. So I do think they need to do that. They got a good point against Galway, but I think they're probably their fate is signed, sealed, delivered. I think they're gone. They're going back to Division 2, which is unfortunate because they are performing well. But yeah, it's a very bad display. But at the same time, Donegal and Derry meet each other in the first round of Ulster. I think Derry would have showed themselves this afternoon that they can mix it with Donegal, and it isn't a definite that Donegal will beat them in the first round. If they perform like they did today and just a bit better game management, there's always a possibility that they can shock Donegal, especially with Donegal en route to a league final, and they might be preoccupied with that. So there's positive shoots for Derry, but I think the negative is closing out games. They need to do that better in the next few weeks. But as for Donegal, good performances from Conor O'Donnell, especially the likes of Darragh Wheel again. Kieran Thompson got 2 amazing 2-pointers in this one as well. Positives as always for Donegal. They'll be going to a league final probably against Galway now, but I think Derry, they're not as bad as people make them out to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, look, they've just been hit really, really hard, but they still have all of the same players that looked so good last season. And I definitely think that feeling of momentum and belief that you had, an inner belief that they had in the team, definitely added something extra to them. Because against Dublin, once Dublin got the run on them, it was like they didn't have the same steel that they had last season to respond to Dublin the way that they did in that league final. But they definitely are still one of the best teams around and can be a match for anybody on their day. Gavin says, oh, poor Derry, sickener. And then Sean says, Derry are great to watch, but keep bottling games. Marlon Tanel says, Mayo Derry game very important for both teams. That one is a real 4-pointer. And then Gavin says, Donegal won Ulster last year. The provinces don't matter as well. Why don't Donegal go after the league this year? I'd still think Jim would prefer another Ulster title, to be honest. And then Modern Taylor says, especially as Mayo are quite good at closing games. I wouldn't agree. I think Mayo are definitely make things pretty chaotic going down the home stretch, especially, being.
But they've got points on the board over the last few games, Seamus, and that is a positive for them.
Oh no, they have. Especially, they've won those games, but I wouldn't say as a team they're experts at closing out games.
No, but then again, who is in Division 1? Like, you look at probably Donegal, maybe.
Rules. I'd say Galway are pretty good at it.
Galway are, to be fair, yeah, they are good at grinding out results. Dublin, when they're on form, I think there's 3 teams that are, let's be honest, Donegal, Galway, Dublin. Possibly Kerry because of the Aurora as well. The rest, there's questions.
I'd say with the new rules, the one thing I've noticed is that no lead seems to be safe. Like, what I noticed was Derry were 6 or 7 points up, and then all of a sudden Donegal kick 3 2-pointers, and all of a sudden the gap is down to 1. You're like, what the like, that happened fast. Like, that type of energy. But anyway, I just want to ask you one question. We've seen the new rules in action. Obviously, we've seen the beautiful 2-pointers. If I give you one kick from outside the arc to save your life, who kicks it?
It's not even a question, Seamus. Shane Walsh.
I agree. Shane Walsh would be the kick to save my life as well. The form that guy is in from outside the arc, in all of the games he's played in, he has been like just a demon from that 40-metre arc. And it seems like Galway's plan as well to get the ball into his hands and to him to have pot shots from outside. And it's
too easy. It's too easy.
A joy to watch, isn't it? It's a joy to watch.
Yeah. It is, yeah. And you feel like it's kind of a cheat code that Galway have at the moment. Obviously not cheating in terms of going below the belt, but every time you give Walsh the ball, it's like the opposition are just like, oh dear.
Yeah, it's like having what's his name? It's like having
it's like having Messi. It's like with Barcelona.
Like having Doumbia on FIFA 12.
Yeah, or it's like when Barcelona's tactic with Messi, with Xavi, Iniesta, all them was give the ball to the magician, and he's going to do it.
Yeah. I mean,
give it to Walsh.
You have an unfair advantage on everybody else. Sean says here, Gaelic football is becoming more like hurling with massive lead swings, and I love it. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I know we've seen Robbie Brennan obviously saying that he didn't really like it, but personally, I don't agree. Do you want to go back to boring defensive games? Remember how shit that was last season with everybody checking their phones and going to the toilet, coming back? Did they miss anything? You missed a free kick. Oh, great. So yeah, I don't miss how the game was last season, to be honest. We'll move on then. We are really pushed for time, so I'm going to put all of these together. The Division 2 round 5, we had Cork 13 points, Roscommon 221 at Porky Queeve. Cavan 122, Down 120 in Breffni Park. Louth 121, Monaghan 127 at the Gaelic grounds, and Westmeath 117, Meath 314 at Cusack Park in Mullingar. So what I'm taking from that is Roscommon, Monaghan and Meath are the 3 teams that 2 are going to get promoted from them. And I think the Meath and Monaghan game is to decide who goes up with Roscommon. Cavan, I think, are safe. Cork, I think, will be safe as well. Louth, I think, will be okay. I'm looking at Down and Westmeath potentially to go and get relegated, which I wouldn't have expected Down to be in this position at the start of the league.
Wait, Seamus, wait, hold up the horse.
Yeah.
If Down beat Westmeath in round 6 and Cork lose to Louth, Cork are the relegation zone with Westmeath.
And that's where I put them at the start. I don't want, but just.
Yeah. But just on the Cork and Roscommon game last night, I'll talk about it more on the Star Sport podcast with Kieran McCarthy later on in the week. Make sure everybody tuned into that. But that was a tough watch last night. It really was. Brilliant from a Roscommon point of view, obviously getting the win, and Ben O'Carroll was in superb form. But the 2 goals that Cork gave away were sloppy, and it was a tough defeat to take. It really was for the players. And I think the most positive thing is there's not a game next weekend, and they can go to the Louth game now. That's a crucial game for them. I think whoever wins that Louth Cork game is safe in round 6.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Cork are at home. You'll be hoping that Cork will do enough to get over the line in that one. And especially with Louth's injury issues, with Craig Lennon being out, you'll be hoping Cork will get over the line and win that one. But it's just history of Cork football, isn't it, Seamus? You get nervous, and yeah, these things happen. It was a poor result for Cork's point of view against Roscommon, but the less said about it, the better. In terms of the promotion race, I think Cavan are obviously fine. Could they sneak into the promotion place? Like if they manage to beat Roscommon, there's always a possibility there. I know it's a big if there, but we'll see what Cavan do. 3 wins on the bounce now, so maybe their confidence is up. We'll have to see. But Meath and Monaghan, like that win for me, Conor Duke scoring a last gasp goal. What an ending to the game. According to Davy Rispin, it was on the hooter that he got the goal. And we'll have to see League Sunday tonight. But apparently, the Meath player kicked it into the square. He kicked it short. The hooter went, and Conor Duke kicked the ball at the back of the net, and the goal was allowed. And Davy Rispin was saying, what a win for Meath and things like that. And Jason for the Loaf of Bread actually commented under that post was saying the ref's a joke. So we'll have to see this on League Sunday tonight. It's going to be very, very interesting to see that thing, in fairness. But yeah, I'd agree with you. The 3 for promotion, and I think, unfortunately, our good old selves are in major danger of going down if we lose to Louth, which is possible.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Louth aren't entirely safe either. I think that game is just massive for both teams. Liam says here, Westmeath show they are competitive but just have no luck at the moment. Gavin says Roscommon were really slow and poor against Meath last week. The transition was slow. The Cork game yesterday seemed a lot more clinical. Cavan's score difference is probably too low to catch up to the other three. Yeah, I would agree with that. They took a bad beating against Monaghan, had some poor results. I think they're probably out of the promotion race, but I think they're probably safe as well. Wrapping up Division 3 then as well. Obviously, we had Clare with a monumental win over Kildare, which of course was Beasts' weekend highlight. It would be Clare 212, Kildare 16 points at Cusack Park in Ennis. Fermanagh and Sligo drew 19 points each at Brewster Park. Laois 22 points, Antrim 117, and O'Moore Park. And Leitrim continue to lose. It's not looking great for them. 1-9 and Offaly 113. That one was in Ballinamore. Your take on round 5 of Division 3.
Huge shock in Ennis with Clare beating Kildare. Didn't see that coming at all. I didn't think Clare were up to the level, especially coming into this year, losing as heavily as they did to Tyrone and Donegal in the All-Ireland. They kind of just gave up in a way, and I didn't think the future, especially with Mark Fitzgerald leaving his post, I didn't think the future was bright for Clare football, and they were going to be in Division 3 for a number of years. But that result against Kildare today was a good result for them. Fair play to them. Keelan Sexton got to go at a stoppage time and got them over the line, and fair play to them for that. He got 1-4 and Owen Cleary got 1-1 as well. That Offaly Kildare game in Tullamore actually in the next round in round 6. That's a huge game for both sides. If Kildare managed to lose that, the whole perception about Kildare GA changes. And Offaly, I know they performed poorly enough.
Have Offaly played Clare yet?
They haven't. No, that's in round 7.
That's the one. That's the one, man. I think Kildare will probably win the next game, but
in Tullamore they lost in Ennis.
I don't know.
There's always the possibility there. Especially
I think they'll realize. I think they'll realize what position they're in. I think they might just scrape it, but I do think like the next 2 games for Offaly, obviously not a genius pointing this out, but the next 2 games for Offaly decide who goes up.
Yeah, I'd agree.
As simple as that. They have their destiny in their own hands, and they put themselves in this position. I would think that Clare probably will go up now. Like I really do. Like I think, especially beating Kildare, I'm like, okay, sold. Like, I really think that you're good enough to go up. Then return to players like Keelan Sexton, Owen Cleary, you've made such a big difference. And I think they're going to be good enough to go up. Sean O'Malley here says, down have fallen so flat and they have such good footballers. Liam says here, not convincing from us. That's obviously Offaly, supposedly, but I guess a win is a win. And Gavin says, I watched Leitrim today. They're probably down already, but the performance was solid enough compared to other weeks. And I mean, that's all you want. They're in, shit's falling apart. You just want, a good performance, something that you can hang your hat on and build for the future. Wrapping up then Division 4's round 5, we had Limerick 221, Tipperary 38 and Rathkeale. Waterford 11 points, Wexford 217 and Fairfield. London 112, Longford 16 points in McGovern Park, Ruislip. Wicklow 218, Carlow 214 in Ockram, which by the looks of it, definitely the game of the round.
Yeah, brilliant win for Wicklow, obviously. And after the loss against London, we thought Wicklow kind of butchered their promotion chances, but that was a good win against Carlow today. Longford, good win against London going over to Ruislip. That's a tough place to go, obviously. London team that beat Tipperary, they beat Wicklow, and we thought they did push on and get a promotion charge going. It doesn't seem that way now. Good win for Longford to halt that charge. And then you look at the other games, Wexford 100% record intact. Ben Brosnan again 4 points. Like the guy is
timeless, isn't he? It's like a fine wine.
Exactly. And you look at Limerick's win against Tipperary, Peter Nash and Rector both getting goals, and James Knoxton getting 7 points. So Limerick are in a good position, and I think Limerick will go up as well. So yeah, it should be interesting.
Yeah, no, certainly. I think we've been solid enough in our predictions. I think won't be as bad as previous years, when we go in and watch the predictions.
Well, it is going to be bad for me, Seamus, because I predicted Down to go up.
And Sligo.
And Sligo.
I had some bad ones as well. I think me predicting Mayo to go down, I think will be the main one that will come back and bite me a bit. But anyway, we'll move then. We'll have a word on the little LGFA League Division 1 round 5. Obviously, this game at Parnell Park was on TG Carr on the Saturday. Dublin trouncing Meath 219 to 9 points. I feel like that rivalry slipping away from us. Dublin have been firmly in command now over the last few meetings between the two teams. Mayo losing to Kerry in not even going to try to say that. Mayo 4 points, Kerry
Anonymity.
2-8. Okay, anyway, Tyrone 6 points, Waterford 6-15 in Iran. Yeah, no, you found out what word I can't say. And then Armagh 2-15, Kildare 1-7 in Silverbridge. So takeaways from that, Armagh and Dublin definitely leading from the front. Kerry back on the winning trail, and what a win for Waterford over Tyrone there.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be a Kerry and Armagh final in Division 1 like it was last year, and a bit boring for the LGFA fans there, but look, Armagh have been absolutely superb in this league campaign, and they beat a Kildare team that were on a good run of form, so a very good win from Armagh of Henderson and Emily Drucy getting goals there. Laura McGregor, performance of the weekend for Waterford, 3-2 in this game. Kellyanne Hogan got 1-8 as well. A brilliant performance for Waterford overall. Dublin Meath, I was kind of shocked by this because Meath showed some very good form with Vicky Wall and Emma Duggan both coming back.
Yeah.
Kerry Cole has been in exceptional form for Meath, and Dublin seemed to be kind of coasting along. It was very, very poor from Dublin this season, but that might be a win to kickstart their campaign. So we'll have to see about Dublin. I think already, unfortunately for Mayo, I think they're down. Simple as they're down. They have 0 points after 5 games. It doesn't look good for Mayo at all this season. So yeah, I think Mayo and Tyrone will probably go down, and I think Armagh and Kerry are in the league final.
Yeah, I think it will be a repeat of that Armagh-Kerry league final. And I think Armagh and Kerry, for me, are the two that I expect to go for the All-Ireland, with Dublin probably as a dark horse third. But I think it's definitely going to come from one of those three. Waterford as well, though, making big strides. You can't ignore a result like that. It's just absolutely ridiculous, scoring 6-15 in a league game. Bearing in mind, guys, their games are 60 minutes long. Like, they don't have the 2 meter arc and everything like that. Like, it's a crazy scoreline to put up in a 60-minute game. Yeah, Dublin I was very impressed with. We seem to just have a little bit of a hold on Meath. I don't really know exactly what it is, like, especially when you've seen us lose to Kildare and things like that. I would have been a little bit nervous for this game, but especially with Meath bringing back in, you're right, like Vicky Wall and the like, and you're thinking, yeah, that, you know, they're coming back into their own here. Maybe we could see a bit of a revival of them, but it's not really looking like it, to be honest. Moving then finally to the last top division, very Camogie League's Division 1A's round 2. Dublin 9 points, Cork 20 points in St. Peregrine's. The All-Ireland champions keep on the winning run. Waterford 1-9, Galway 15 points at the Set2 Arena. And then Tipperary 16 points, Kilkenny 1-8 at the Rag. Your thoughts on these three?
I think for Tipperary, it was crucial to get a win there, especially after drawing to Dublin in round 1. Like Grace O'Brien getting 7 points, and Clodagh McIntyre with 3 points. Kilkenny now have lost Grace Walsh and Miriam Walsh, obviously, for this season. I think Tommy Shefflin has a hard job in his hands. There's no doubt about that. I think Kilkenny are in a transitional period of time at the moment in Camogie, and it's going to be very difficult to see when Kilkenny will come back up the top. Waterford as well, no wins in their first 2 games. I'll be sort of worried about them. Galway 15 points and Waterford 1-9. That's a boring score for them. Carrie Dolan getting 8 points for Galway, so good display from them. And as for Cork, yeah, Clodagh Finn getting 2 points, and Ciara Sullivan getting 2 points, Saoirse McCarthy getting 8, and Saoirse McCarthy getting 3. Good the performance by Cork against Dublin. Both Cork are in a whole other level at the moment. And I think they'd be probably in prime position to win the 3 in a row with the possible. I think Galway are probably the closest team to them in terms of winning the All-Ireland later on in the year, especially when I'd love to see this news. Thought Van is retired of Hurling from Tipperary. If that is true, that's a big blow to Tipperary in terms of their All-Ireland aspirations later on in the season. But yes, decent results in the Camogie, but I think the standout is Kilkenny losing the tip. It looks like they'll be in for a rough season.
Certainly will. I think especially losing to Dublin in the semi-final the way that they did last season, it was poor. Out of the 4 champions, out of Kerry and the LGFA, Clare and the Hurling, Armagh and the football, Cork and the Camogie, there's no doubt about it. The champions, in my opinion, that look the most likely to retain their crown is Cork and the Camogie. There's no doubt about it as far as I'm concerned. Just before we wrap it up, Matthew, your personal highlight of the weekend?
I think poignant moment in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, the minutes applause for Ray Ryan before the Cork and Kilkenny game. I think that was a highlight of mine in the weekend, just to be there and recognise the respect that the Cork public have for a great man from SARS. I think it just showed in spades on Saturday. So I think that would be my moment of the weekend.
Yeah, no, well said. I think that definitely has to be the moment of the week, obviously, for this week. I think an honorary second mention is the first ever buzzer beater in Gaelic football. Obviously, with the Meath and Westmeath, and we're going to watch League Sunday now to form our opinions on whether or not we think it should have been the first ever buzzer beater. Obviously, our good friend Jason does not think that it should have been. Liam says here, great show, lads, with the Cafe Boys. Thank you very much, Liam. Looking forward to having Liam back on the pod as well in the future. Gavin here says, God, London really are improving, even if they're not winning great performances. They certainly are. They've been going strength to strength in the last few seasons. But guys, that brings an end to the episode at 20 past. The hockey starts in 9 minutes. Going to be watching that on one telly, and I'm going to have League Sunday on the other. So I'm going to be your classic Gen Z. Sean O'Malley here says, love this pod. Love to see you here, Sean. Thanks very much for contributing. Thank you to Sean O'Malley. Thank you to Liam White. Thank you, Gavin O'Reilly. Thank you to Modern Tornado 81, Beast 475, NIRB and TSB. Who else do I have here? Scrolling back. Gerard Ogo Grecon as well, Ger Gregan, a regular guest on the pod who launched us off with about 4 comments straight off the back. Guys, that's another episode in the books. We'll be back here next weekend, same time, 8 p.m, just to get you that slot just before League Sunday begins. But I really enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for watching. For myself and Matthew, have a good week. Take care.